The peace moves in the Middle East, and hundreds of women have called a helpline after fears that certain fertility treatment before 1985 might cause a human form of BSE. That's Wednesday's early evening news until 5:40 tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Hello, good evening. Well, technically it's the very first day of autumn today, but certainly feeling much more like summer, and that's because we've got high pressure in charge slap bang on top of us. But a quick look at our flow chart from the Met Office here shows it's not all plain sailing by any means for tomorrow, and that's because we have a front being dragged down. Quick look back first of all though at our cloud scan sequence, pictures from the Met Office for today, and we see that cloud mainly troubling northern as well as western areas, and some clouds spilling on eastern fringes, but becoming all the heavier tomorrow. Back to tonight first though, and the best of the sunshine today. Well, this is represented by the clear slots on tonight's chart. Certainly some cloud around as well. Do watch out for some mist and fog patches floating around. Patchy and all the more dangerous because of being so, and certainly lasting till round about the rush hour tomorrow, so take care if you're driving. As with temperatures, no real problems, dipping to round about 8 to 12. That's 46 to 54 in Fahrenheit. Going into tomorrow, we start off with the most troublesome area weather-wise, represented again by the very far northwest, cloud tipping some rather steady drizzle onto northern parts and some of that creeping down western coasts. Now, to deal with other coastal areas, certainly a lot of cloud enveloping a fair few places here. Bright, yes, but much less in the way of sunshine than we saw today. The very best of the sunshine tomorrow reserved for central as well as southern parts, with some fairly good bursts coming through. This is very much reflected in those temperatures. A high here in the southwest of around about 22, 72 Fahrenheit. So all in all, not too bad.
Next tonight, on call with the Devon Fire Brigade, plus equal opportunities for au pairs. Westcountry Live meets one of the men left holding.
Cliff, out of interest, who's living with you and Grandma?
I'm glad you asked. See, I'm getting to that.
It is Grandma. It's Mother, the sequel.
Oh, boy. Right on, right on.
And Cliff, the kids are really hip.
Keep.
Give them a little respect.
No!
Get grooving with the Cosbys on Sundays at 6:30 on Channel 4.
Don't have to be dead to enjoy it.
New drama for the new season. The third prime suspect leads Helen Mirren into the disturbing world of vice and corruption.
I swear I've done a baby!
And to count the cost of her career.
I got my job and you got married.
Surprise! And it's not the only one in store for Jim Taggart.
Here's your money.
I'm a police officer.
And what's your...
There's also some confusion when Martin Clunes and Griff Rhys-Jones get demobbed.
Yes?
Alan?
No.
And from one disappointed man to another in Cracker.
A little phony passion, they'll lap it up.
But can a real tragedy touch a hard heart? New drama for the new season on Westcountry.
That lad's keen to learn fishing, and his mate wants to know how he can be more successful. They'll both get a lot of help from The Art of Fishing. It tells you all about fish and where to find them, with expert advice on what equipment to use, what kind of bait, and kind of tactics. And people like me give you lots of useful tips.
Republished in weekly parts, The Art of Fishing is something you'll turn to again and again.
What a beauty!
Welcome into Comet Carpets, Devon's largest carpet specialists, where our friendly professional staff will help you choose from the wide range of top brand names. Select from hundreds of rolls of carpet and vinyl always in stock, and enjoy the warmth and beauty a new carpet brings to your home. Comet Carpets, Exeter, Plymouth and Newton Abbot.
Hello, Brian. How's business?
Oh, fine. Great. How about you?
Yes. We're growing really quickly.
Of course, when you get to our size, growth tends to be more planned.
Actually, John, I hear you're thinking of expanding your dairy herd.
Yes, just a formality with the bank manager, really.
So, it's all into Europe next then, eh?
If you want your business to run like a dream and not a nightmare, talk to the tech.
We're about to test an incredible new filler from Unibond. It dries through faster, and its added adhesive means when it goes in, it stays in. Well, now it's time to prove it. New Unifiller. It won't let you down.
New this season. She had a successful career, but her marriage was a failure.
I want out of this marriage.
Because I can't have a baby, isn't it?
Wounded by her cheating husband, can a prestigious assignment restore her confidence?
My bank is doing a photo layout on the American film.
She is now, and an uptown woman becomes a down-to-earth cowgirl as love blossoms on the ranch and Danielle steals Palomino Friday at 8 on Westcountry.
Hello, good to see you again. It's September the 1st. Welcome from us all to Wednesday's edition of West Country Live.
We're off to the street later on with Ian Sterling in his Sterling soap. First, let's take a look at tonight's news headlines. Dirty beaches, Southwest Water could face more legal action.
Brave Hole in the Hot Girl sets up a self-help group.
And not blonde, not Swedish, and it's a man. It must be the new au pair.
We'll have all details on those stories in just a moment. And with sport, here's Mark Tyler.
Well, day one of the brand new rugby season, and we'll look ahead to the big game in Cornwall. That, plus the latest cricket news and all last night's soccer action. Gone for a Burton. Superb opening goal, but Torquay's hopes of going top of the league end in last-minute disappointment.
Well, no disappointments as far as the weather goes. September it may be, but autumn it's not. It's staying warm and dry.
That's good news. Also tonight, our reporter David Whittle joins the Devon Fire Brigade on the job. We begin a special series on the men and women of the Devon Fire Brigade.
I have never, ever felt heat like that before.
Let's find out what life is really like in the service in part one of a special series on West Country firefighters.
That's the main stories this Wednesday evening. Southwest Water is being threatened with more legal action over pollution of the beaches. It's already facing prosecution from a Devon landowner. Now, the Marine Conservation Society says it too may take the company to court, as Chris Gurney reports.
The threat of prosecution is nothing new for Southwest Water. Just last week, Michael Saltmarsh, who owns Croyd Beach in North Devon, launched a £1 million High Court action against the company, claiming that sewage was driving visitors away. Now, the Marine Conservation Society is also on the warpath. The organisation, which publishes the Good Beach Guide, is hoping to bring a test case against one of the water companies. It hopes the government will then be forced to put more money into cleaning up the coastline. If I was to throw this can onto the beach, I'd be guilty of breaking the Environmental Protection Act. That's exactly what the Marine Conservation Society are hoping to prove the water companies are doing every time sewage, nappies and condoms are washed onto the shore. Later this month, the Society is organising a nationwide beach clean-up. Water company found to have the dirtiest beaches will then face prosecution. The Society says Southwest Water is a likely candidate, but not all agree with the idea.
I'm not sure that it does our region and our area much good if reports are going to be made in the press, the media, that our beaches are not up to the required standard. I actually think that we often exaggerate our problems in this respect, and it doesn't do much good to the tourist industry.
Well, I wouldn't like to comment on any threatened prosecutions. What I can say is that we've got some tremendous news down here as far as the quality of beaches and bathing waters are concerned. Clean Sweep and the massive programme that we've got underway is set to deliver many improvements and many benefits to the local beaches and bathing waters by 1995.
If the Society does prosecute South West Water and wins its case, it'll mean higher standards of sewage treatment. If the government doesn't fund the difference, it could mean higher bills. 73-year-old Eileen Lucas from Falmouth has already collected more than 700 signatures in protest at water charges. She's also written to the Prime Minister and the European Parliament in an effort to get things changed.
They are making tremendous profits, and the water bosses are earning tremendous salaries, and all that is coming out of the pockets of the poor.
The Marine Conservation Society says it'll decide which company to prosecute within the next 2 months. Court proceedings could begin early next year. Chris Gurney reporting for Westcountry Live.
A 15-year-old who's been ignoring his parents now says he wants to divorce them. They say they've been forced to move out of their home and are living in a caravan nearby. As Catherine Bayfield reports, the teenager who can't be named has now set up home with the next-door family.
This is home for the family whose son doesn't want to live with them anymore. It's a small touring caravan in mid-Cornwall. It's cramped and it's difficult living conditions. The family say they had to move because they couldn't bear the sight of seeing their son. It's a year since the 15-year-old moved out of the family home, saying he wanted to live with the neighbours and their 10-year-old son. The son has asked a judge for a residency order, in effect a full divorce from his family.
It really does hurt, you know, that's why I just wanted to get away from it. I just couldn't take much more. Just felt I was going to crack up or do something, or even just run off myself, you know.
As he managed to get legal aid and a solicitor, the courts, you know, it all dragged out too long, and it's just pushed everybody apart from each other, you know. It ruined everything, really.
Lawyers say it isn't too easy to get divorced from your parents, with cases going to the highest court in the land.
No, I don't think it's too easy for children to divorce their parents. The Children Act requires the court specifically to take into account the wishes and feelings of the children, given their age and understanding, and it's only right that children should have more of a say in what is going to be happening to them in their future.
Despite the heartbreak, the teenager's family say they'd welcome him back. There'd be changes, they'd have to be changes, but the offer's there. Catherine Bayfield reporting for Westcountry Live.
A Cornish teenager is setting up a Lonely Hearts organisation. The only qualification you need, apart from being lonely of course, is a serious heart condition, one which leaves you standing on the sidelines whilst your friends enjoy themselves. Manfred Roxon's been to Bude to meet a very brave 14-year-old.
Like most teenage girls, Claire Ellis loves horses, but she was born with a hole in the heart. Just walking her dog can leave her exhausted, and she only goes to school in the mornings.
I can go to discos and parties, but I have to sort of like stop and rest a little while after dancing.
So does it spoil it for you, not being able to really get involved?
Yeah, it does.
She can't really lead a normal life. She can't, you know, go out with her friends. She has to always be thinking about whether it's going to be too cold or whether it's going to be too much for her. She can't do all the things that normal teenagers do, and you know, it's very frustrating for her.
There are self-help groups for younger children and for adults, but for in-betweeners, there's nothing in the southwest.
I know most children get a lot of help from family, friends, but there must be times when they've got worries and fears that the only sort of person they could talk to is somebody who's gone through it.
Surgeons at London's Brompton Hospital plan to operate on Claire's heart next year. Until then, she'll have to stay on the sidelines. It's usually the way, isn't it? It's the people who have the problem who come up with the best ways of tackling it. Now what Claire needs is our support to make that into a reality. This is Manfred Roxon in Bude for Westcountry Live.
The entire staff of one of Cornwall's most prestigious hotels have won their fight for back pay.
At an industrial tribunal, it was ruled that 28 staff were owed a month's wages by their now bankrupt boss. Quill Potter reports.
Waiters, cleaners and even the head chef at the Hannaford Point Hotel claimed they were owed thousands of pounds in unpaid wages. Only a handful of staff turned up to the hearing in Plymouth today. The rest stayed behind to run the hotel, which is now in receivership. Last Friday, Stuart Conliffe, the man who owned the hotel, was declared bankrupt at Truro County Court. Mr Conliffe didn't turn up to today's hearing, but some of his staff who did are delighted at the outcome.
Under the circumstances, fair result. At least we won the case. That's the main thing, anyway.
Did you expect to?
Yes, to be quite honest, yeah.
I'm satisfied with the decision. As to whether I'll receive any money from the award, well, we'll have to wait and see about that.
Despite the fact the tribunal found in favour of the staff, it may well turn out just to be a victory on paper. On the third floor here, the receivers, Grant Thornton, are sorting out the financial affairs of the Hannaford Point Hotel. They're hoping eventually to sell it lock, stock and barrel with the staff. But if they do find a buyer, it's unlikely there'll be enough money left over to pay the staff the money they're owed. This is Quill Potter in Plymouth for Westcountry Live.
HMS Avenger left Plymouth this afternoon on a mission that would have been unthinkable just a couple of years ago. The Devonport-based frigate is to be the first foreign ship to be allowed into Russia's biggest seaport. It's carrying medical supplies that it's hoped will help the sick and injured of Plymouth's twin town, Novorossiysk. Here's David Whitbourne.
At lunchtime today, the final supplies were loaded, the final phone calls made, and the goodwill presents handed over for delivery. HMS Avenger is travelling to Novorossiysk, Russia's biggest port down on the Black Sea. It's carrying medical supplies for a hospital that's in desperate need. It's also breaking new ground in diplomatic terms, with a little wariness on both sides.
I think there has to be. We don't know the people very well yet. We're looking forward to the opportunity to meet them face to face and to understand them a little better, and I hope that they're looking forward to the same from us.
A warship's not the best thing for carrying supplies, other than those it was designed for, but it's the only way the aid can get to Novorossiysk.
At the beginning of August, we launched an appeal for the children's clothing and toys from the city of Plymouth and from the people of Plymouth, and it's been tremendous. So much so, we've even had to leave some stuff behind. We couldn't get it on board here. We filled up all the gold, we filled up every space we could get on board this ship, and HMS Avenger is doing a great job in taking it all out for us. There's no way we could get it out otherwise.
It'll be 7 weeks before Avenger catches sight of Plymouth again. By that time, it hopes to have several diplomatic and humanitarian successes behind it. This is David Whitbourne in Plymouth Sound for Westcountry Live.
And Westcountry's cameras will be following the fate of that mission when HMS Avenger gets into Russia. It's taken 20 pairs of boots and 2.5 years, but a Westcountry travel writer has stepped into the record books, becoming the first woman in history to walk the entire length of Africa. Today, Fiona Campbell strode into Tangiers at the end of her 10,000-mile trek. And Ed Richmond has that story.
Fiona Campbell's final few strides at the end of an epic journey today. A warm welcome on a Moroccan beach and a calling swim in the Mediterranean to wash away some of the dust of the road. Born in Totnes, Fiona has seen it all as she's battled through desert temperatures, civil war and food shortages over the past 2.5 years. Her face still bears the scars of her battle to fend off a would-be rapist.
That's the worst part of it, of course, that I can do nothing. At least when she's in Europe, she's within phone distance, within ferry distance, within car distance.
It's been the thought of seeing again her parents' home at Stoke Fleming near Dartmouth that's kept Fiona going.
I just had this vision of seeing my parents at the little garden gate outside our house, and that's where I want to see them, and it kept me going through so much. I didn't want to spoil that. I want to live that special moment.
At 26, Fiona is already a veteran traveller. She's already walked across the United States and turned a similar adventure in Australia into a book. It takes great determination.
When Fiona prepares for a walk, she's very, very meticulous. She goes into all the religions of all the countries she passes through so that she can wear the right clothes and not offend people. She has even got to the stage of studying how other tribes of people walk.
Although her African adventure is now over, Fiona won't be taking it easy for long. Her final ambition is to become the first person to walk round the world, a feat she'll complete with a trek across Europe. But for now, her main thoughts are with the family cat, Fred, who's been waiting for 2.5 years to see Fiona again. Annette Richmond for West Country Live.
Have you been having problems keeping your children busy over the summer holiday? Well, parents on a Plymouth estate have come up with a solution. They want to keep their youngsters off the streets and out of trouble, so they've given up their gardens to make a playground. Richard Gaisford's been to see what it's like.
For parents on the North Prospect estate in Plymouth, there was a problem. Their children couldn't get to the climbing frame, so the climbing frame was brought to them.
Where we're standing now was brambles. You could hide in the brambles. There was needles in there. Things that, people would rob, that, they chuck it all in there. So we just decided to flatten it, level it, and get a place for the children.
And this is what they've done with it. From near jungle to a playground, the residents of North Prospect say, follow our lead. Tenants allowed up to 40 feet of wasteland to be chopped off the end of their gardens. Materials were donated by a local company, and the climbing dome was built by a Plymouth student. It was hoped the new playground will keep the kids off the street, and it certainly seems to have worked.
Down here, they're out the way, and you can keep an eye on them from the back windows and that.
There's not a lot really for the kids to do, and it's ideal for them to play safely.
I think it's good.
What would you have been doing before?
Just playing out in the street with my brother. Really good.
The City Council say they're happy for the gardens to have been transformed. Now other estates are invited to do the same. Richard Gaisford in Plymouth for West Country Live.
Now, everybody knows what an au pair is. It's a beautiful blonde Swedish girl who's adored by the men, loathed by the women, and can't speak very much English at all. At least that's the situation comedy stereotype, as we all know. But from today, it's all changed. Here's Alison John to explain.
Liz Reed lives in Ipplepen in Devon, and she's a busy woman. She has a full-time job and 2 sons aged 10 and 11. What she needs is another pair of hands, and that's what she's got. They belong to José Ramón García. He's from Bilbao in Spain, he's male, and he's her au pair.
After maybe a week or 2 of training, the boys are as competent as any female, as far as I'm concerned, so I'd say go for it.
Now, of course, we had all the old jokes in the old days when you had only female au pairs, about the man in the house was always madly in love with them. Do you get friends making jokes about you having a male au pair?
We did at first, yes. We did at first, the PTA. They were dying to see him.
It's not the sort of work José is used to at home, but he quite enjoys some of it.
This is the first time I do this kind of jobs, and the most I like is ironing, because it's very relaxing, and besides I like going for a walk with Duke, the dog, to come on. And I don't like very much cleaning the bathrooms, because it's hard for my arm.
Until now, only women between the ages of 17 and 27 have been allowed to work in Britain as au pairs if they're from countries outside the EC. From today, men from 21 other countries can also work here as au pairs. The Home Office says that's in keeping with modern thinking. Quite right too, I'm all for equality. Thank you, José. This is Alison Johns in Ipplepen for West Country Live.
Too right. He doesn't like cleaning the bathroom. Who does? Anyway, we're going to travel now around the region to see what else is happening. And we start in Exeter with Chris Gurney. Hello, Chris.
Good evening. Police in Somerset are hunting a man who tried to abduct a woman in broad daylight. The attacker struck as the woman was walking near her home in Monkton Heathfield. He tried to drag her into a car, but she screamed and managed to run away. 5,000 white-collar workers at Devon County Council are to be balloted on strike action. Members of Unison are protesting at the national pay offer of 1.5%. The ballot comes after county councillors voted to increase their own allowances by 13%. The historic home of a former Taunton MP has been sold to a mystery buyer. Sir Edward Buchan, once tipped as a future Prime Minister, was declared bankrupt earlier this year. And Westland Engineering in Yeovil have won a $50 million order to develop gearboxes for a new jet engine. The company says it won't mean any new jobs, but will help assure existing employment. The new engine should be quieter and cleaner than those currently used by airliners. That's it from Exeter. Back to you.
Apparently the Tate Gallery in St Ives is doing pretty well. With news of that, here's Paul Moss. He's in Truro. Paul.
Good evening, Katie. Yes, the Tate Gallery say they've had more visitors in their first 2 months than they expected in a whole year. 70,000 people have now flooded through the doors, and there's still no sign of a lull in popularity. The displays are due for their first change next month. Penzance magistrates have been hearing how a love wrangle between a busker and a doctor ended with an assault. The court was told that when Dr. Catherine Gowing ended their relationship, Charles Haycoop from Calistick smashed her windows and then attacked her with an umbrella. Mr. Haycoop was fined £200. And a petition's being prepared by people in Truro to try to save one of the town's ancient fir trees. The local council wants to cut the tree down to expand a car park, but the authority's own planning department have joined those saying they want the tree protected. That's all from Cornwall. Back to you, Katie.
Thanks, Paul. Apparently we've got more on those floods in North Devon. With news of that, here's Manfred Roxon. Hello, Manfred.
Hello there, Katie. Good evening. A public inquiry opened today to consider plans for a multi-million-pound flood defence scheme in Bideford. The National Rivers Authority says it'll prevent flooding alongside the River Torridge, but residents say it'll ruin the picturesque setting. Businesses in North Devon have been hearing how assisted area status will help create jobs. A seminar in Barnstaple has been outlining how local firms can benefit from millions of pounds worth of grants. Barnstaple could soon have a new shopping centre despite objections from the town council. Officials are backing plans for the site at 7 Brethren Bank, but councillors say it could bring traffic problems. And green-fingered gardeners in Barnstaple are in the running for a national award. Judges from the Britain in Bloom competition have spent the day inspecting the town's floral displays. They'll announce their decision in a few weeks' time. That's it from North Devon. Back to you, Katie.
Thanks, Manfred. And here in Plymouth, here's Richard Gaisford.
Good evening. The Plymouth Task Force moved up a gear today by launching a new Action Before Employment scheme. It's designed to improve the chance of getting a job by increasing literacy and communication skills. At the launch was Plymouth's Minister for Development, Baroness Cumberledge. She's charged with looking at how the task force spend their £325,000 budget. It's still unclear who may have been at fault for a near collision between a Royal Navy submarine and a fishing trawler. The Navy say HMS Unicorn was exercising in a registered area when it and the trawler Peter came within 300 yards of each other. The skipper of the fishing boat has been unavailable for comment, and the Navy are investigating the matter. And an auction at Dartmoor Prison raised over £7,000 for local charities this afternoon. Under the hammer were 8 old red telephone boxes. Each of the classic phone booths had been restored by inmates at the jail. The auction marks the end of the prison's Expo 93. Well, that's all from the Plymouth newsroom. Now back to the studio.
And that just about marks the end of part 1 of West Country Live tonight. But still to come, we begin a special series on some people who are real lifesavers. They're the Devon Fire Brigade. Our reporter David Whitbourne spent time at one of the county's busiest stations where he met the men and women who risked their lives.
If you think about it, you probably wouldn't do it. You know, you turn up at a building, you know there's a job to do, there's people in there, you go and do the job. The time to think about it is afterwards, when it's all over.
It's a very, very dangerous job. If you want to find out more, find out how they cope, we'll be back after the break with that.
While some companies make you special offers from time to time, at B&Q, key DIY in the products you buy most regularly means low prices when you want them. That's all the time, every day. Key DIY at B&Q.
Andrex Ultra is an advanced new kitchen towel. It comes in a one-roll pack, is almost twice as long as most other quality kitchen rolls, and is much more absorbent, as I'm about to demonstrate. Notice how quickly Andrex Ultra sucks up water compared with the other quality kitchen towel.
New Andrex Ultra, the thirstiest kitchen towel there is.
She knew that Max Factor's moisture-rich lipstick would quench her thirsty lips. But then what?
From across the restaurant, the stranger watched her eat, laugh and smile. When her companion finally left the table, she carefully mouthed the words, "He's my brother."
Impact. Max Factor's moisture-rich lipstick. Micro sponges drench lips with constant moisture. Lips they'll listen to. Max Factor International.
What you are about to witness may take your breath away. But if things go wrong, it will take hers away. Permanently. Because we're about to test an incredible new filler from Unibond. It dries through faster, it sets stronger, and its added adhesive means when it goes in, it stays in. Well, now it's time to prove it. New Unifiller, it won't let you down.
As time goes by, nothing in life remains the same. But some things are made to last. Like Resistor cookware from Tefal. It has a special honeycomb texture that makes it more slippery, more durable, and easier to clean. Resistor, the ultimate non-stick cookware from Tefal.
Good. It's just after 6:25. Welcome back to Westcountry Live. Still a great deal more to come on tonight's programmes as we look at the plight of Westcountry families forced to turn to charity for their everyday needs.
If anyone thinks Exeter is a centre of prosperity, they better come here. This warehouse is helping 10 households a week by providing free furniture to people who otherwise couldn't afford it.
And Ian Sterling has an action-packed update on the soaps. That's all coming up in a few minutes.
They're a life insurance nightmare. The hours are unsociable and the stress can sometimes be almost unbearable. Yet for most of the men and women in Devon's fire service, there's no better job. Tonight on Westcountry Live, in the first of a special three-part series, our reporter David Whitbourne looks at getting in and getting on.
Not many jobs offer you danger, excitement, and the chance to help people in trouble.
Come on, up. Bend your knees slightly. Come on, dig out.
It takes 2 years to become a fully qualified firefighter, and in Devon, the process starts here.
I would hope we've got a high reputation, which we strive to maintain, and we believe we've got it just about right.
The fire station in Plympton runs a 12-week course that's designed to equip their men, and in this case, one woman, with the basics. But the real work's done in uniform.
All right, listen in then. Basic ladder drills we're going to be doing start off. We'll split up into groups, keep away from the other groups that are over there. At the training school, it's very hectic. You can see by today's efforts that it's one subject after the other, and you've got to keep tight control over them to ensure they don't put themselves into any danger. But in the 14-15 years I've been in, I've thoroughly enjoyed it.
It's called the Devon Fire and Rescue Service, and the fire part came next. How would you feel if you came round the corner to find this?
Obviously, a lot of adrenaline, your heart's running, but you've got to take, I mean, you need your adrenaline anyway to sort of get you through it, but you don't want it to let it take you over either, so just sort of get on with it, what they've trained us to do. This is exhilarating, best job out.
But the training doesn't stop there. Behind me, the smoke is intense, the flames are burning the side of my face. It's about 800 or 900 degrees Celsius in there. In other words, a typical house fire. This is how the brigade tackles it. Okay.
Ears are our heat sensors, okay? You know, if you should never be stood up in that sort of heat anyway, as you can appreciate from being there. You're sort of down at knee level. If the heat is still too hot for your ears, you should be down on your belly. If it's still too hot, you should be outside, okay? You shouldn't actually be in there because you'll be overcome with heat exhaustion, and before you know it, you'll have passed out, okay? And you're actually adding then to the casualties which other guys have got to go in and rescue. So we still like to keep our ears free for sensing the heat.
Okay?
Well done.
Oh. Good. I have never, ever felt heat like that before.
Martine Moore is the first woman to go through the course. She's just done a degree at London University and decided to try the male-dominated world of firefighting, where she says she's been treated well.
Equal, absolutely. Sleep in the same dormitories as men, wear the same uniform, do exactly the same things.
Did you get your leg pulled at all?
Yeah. Yeah.
And, is that all right?
They do it to each other, it's all part of the teamwork.
Stand by the slip. The right hand.
So far, it's been brilliant. You really feel like you're pulling together. All the lads have been really supportive, and we're just getting through it together.
What about the danger side of it? Do you think of that?
No, not really. I think of, it's hot in there, but I don't really click that it's danger. I mean, I'm more frightened of being shouted at by the instructors than being burnt. When I go to a real incident, I don't know what I'm going to feel like. At the moment, you know that there's a safety officer there and you're going to be okay.
There's a place for all types of person, whether they're male, female, whatever race they come from, whatever cultures they come from. There will always be some part in the service for that individual.
Any opposition within the service to that?
I think there are people with views that may be classed as opposition. Thankfully, those are far and few between. We see it firsthand here. We know what people can do. Every recruit, it goes through a very rigorous selection process, and we only select people that will make it. And those people that get to this course and pass out will make it within the service.
The passing out parade, when it came, was a proud day for the recruits, their family, and the instructors. Martine did make it, and she and all the others on the training course have now been posted to fire stations around Devon. 12 weeks of hard slog were behind them, but the real work starts now. This is David Whitbourne for West Country Live.
Tomorrow, David goes out on call with one of Plymouth's busiest stations. Pete Atkinson, who took the pictures inside that tower, was saying that the camera lens can withstand heat up to 1,000 degrees, and it came pretty close to melting.
Apparently, the temperature difference is phenomenal. Up there by the ceiling, it's nearly 1,000 degrees. Down there by the floor, it's only 100. So can you imagine? David said he had to crouch right down, just put his hand up slightly like that, and he could feel the heat.
We can let them in on a secret, can't we? Yeah, tomorrow in the call-out, they rescue 3 little kittens. It's lovely stuff.
Very, very sweet. Well, now, more and more households in the West Country are unable to afford new furniture. Many are turning to charity for help, and one project in Exeter is distributing more than 10 loads a week. Our Community Affairs editor, Stephen Linus, has this report.
Julie Chudley and her son Matthew are watching their furniture arrive. For the last 9 months, they've been in bed and breakfast accommodation. Now they've got a place of their own, but until today, no furniture.
Well, I've been doing washing by hand or taking it to my mum's. I've been sharing a single bed with Matthew. We've been managing, but it's been better since I've been down to turntable and got what I've needed.
Turntable is a simple concept. From these sheds on an Exeter trading estate, unwanted furniture is recycled. It's given away to people in need.
The things which people want most of all are white goods, washing machines, fridges, freezers, those sorts of things. But three-piece suites, dining tables and chairs are the things which go most quickly from here. The basic criteria is, would I be prepared to use it myself? And if I'm not happy, then I won't use it.
Exeter is generally thought of as a comfortable, well-off city. Seen from the turntable van, things are different. In less than 6 months, they've helped more than 200 households who can't afford to buy basic furniture.
Yes, there are single mums, and there are those people who've, are involved in care in the community, have come out of, perhaps some emotional or mental health problem. There are those people who've come out of prison, those people that perhaps we would think about. But there are also those people who, through this recession, have found themselves on hard times. And I think we are in a world now, whether we like it or not, where it could actually feasibly happen to most of us.
We used to think the welfare state would look after people in need, but there are no more social security grants, and Turntable dislike the crisis loans that replaced them.
To physically say to them that we're going to invite you to actually get into more debt and to actually take longer to get out of this hole that you've already in, seems to me to be almost irresponsible.
Been a hairdresser for at least 5 years, and it shows. I won't pass that one on to her. Since the other beauty married Baldwin, she's steadily gone downhill at a rattling pace. And if the environmental health officer saw the state of that whole place, he'd close them down. That shelf filler, McDonald's lad, could do with a bit of a barber's pole falling on his head as a reminder. Thanks for allowing me to have a whinge. Well, we enjoyed it as well, Mrs. Collins. Thanks very much. Thanks very much for your letters, and do keep writing. That's it until the Salute on Friday has got a sort of a Scottish flavour. You'll see what I mean, same time Friday.
Well, that's interesting. Still a lot more coming up tonight, including our Wednesday night sports roundup with Mark Tyler.
Yeah, stay with us for all the goals from last night's league football and the latest cricket news from Taunton. We'll also look ahead to the big match in Cornwall tonight as old rivals Redruth and Camborne get the oval ball rolling for a brand new season.
Yeah, that's my type of sport. All of that with Mark in just a couple of minutes.
This is one of England's largest zoos. See conservation in action with 1,300 animals in 75 acres of botanical gardens. Come to Paynton Zoo, where we put the ooh back in zoo.
Ooh. That lad's keen to learn fishing, and his mate wants to know how he can be more successful. They'll both get a lot of help from The Art of Fishing. It tells you all about fish and where to find them, with expert advice on what equipment to use, what kind of bait, and what kind of tactics. And people like me give you lots of useful tips.
Republished in weekly parts, The Art of Fishing is something you'll turn to again and again.
What a beauty!
If you look into a packet of breakfast cereal today, you could be looking at one of 100 free first-class weekends for two in Paris, or one of 2,000 free bottles of champagne, or one of 10,000 free packets of breakfast cereal. But only, of course, if you're looking into the right packet of breakfast cereal.
The power of Solpadeine is now available in a new tablet form. Designed on computer to make pain relief easy to swallow. Solpadeine is one of the most powerful painkillers available without prescription. Solpadeine contains 2 highly effective pain-killing ingredients that deliver relief fast. If pain strikes, hit back with the power of new Solpadeine tablets.
Where can you find permanently low prices on children's schoolwear? Delicious sandwich fillings. Fresh fruit. Everything for schoolwork. And refreshing drinks. At Asda, where prices are constantly checked to keep them low. That's Asda Price.
At the MFI sale, all Hygiena and Schreiber kitchen cabinets in a huge selection of styles are reduced, many by up to 50%. The MFI sale, now on.
For an instant access account that pays a higher rate the fewer withdrawals you make, call the Bristol & West now.
Hello again, welcome back to Wednesday's West Country Live. If you missed the news earlier on in the programme, we'll have a summary of the national and regional stories later in the programme.
And we're hoping for some good news on the weather. What did he call himself last night? Al fresco.
That's right, David. I'm back indoors tonight, but you will be hearing from a happy Ron. Not only am I going off on a fortnight's holiday, the outlook is still for a decent night to nice and dry weather between now and the weekend, and maybe further on.
Wow, I can hardly believe it. We'll also have sport coming up later in the programme. But we've just heard that a member of staff at Torbay Hospital has been assaulted. It happened this afternoon at the Edith Morgan Centre, which is a psychiatric unit. The member of staff was severely injured and is being treated at the hospital. It's not known how extensive the injuries are. Police are investigating the matter.
More on that on our late news just after 10:30 tonight. It's time in West Country Live now to move on to sport. Thankfully, no crowd trouble to report from last night's football at Exeter City. So here's Mark with all the main on-field news together with the latest cricket and rugby roundup.
Yes, in a moment, all 9 goals from last night's matches for Plymouth, Torquay and Exeter. But first, let's find out how Somerset are getting on against Gloucestershire at Taunton. Well, it's been another good day for them, thanks to centuries from Andy Hayhurst and Graham Rose. They helped to take Somerset on to 350 for 8. That's an overall lead of 94. Well, Hayhurst provided much-needed stability to the Somerset batting following a familiar middle-order collapse. At one stage, they'd slipped to 178 for 5. But Graham Rose then helped him stop the rot, and the pair pushed Somerset steadily past the 200 mark. Well, after a cautious start, Rose began to blossom with some typically adventurous shots, and with Hayhurst moving towards a well-deserved century at the other end, Somerset were assured of a considerable first innings advantage. Well, on to football now, and Torquay United, Exeter City and Plymouth Argyle failed to produce a win between them last night, but it wasn't all bad news. Exeter picked up their first point of the season, and Torquay came desperately close to going to the top of the table, as Martin Dean reports.
Torquay United's happy knack of uncovering talented teenagers paid off again at Plainmoor last night, as 19-year-old defender Nick Burton marked his debut with a splendid strike to put United in front on the half hour. But that goal was their only reward for dominating the opening 45 minutes. And having weathered the initial storm, Carlisle came steadily back into things as the game wore on. Goalkeeper Matthew Lowe did his best to keep Torquay in the game, but when the equaliser came in injury time, Lowe had to shoulder much of the blame as his missed punch presented Steve Gallimore with the simplest of opportunities. Exeter City's fans must have wondered if their side was still locked in Saturday's nightmare when they gave away another soft goal after just 2 minutes of last night's match. Scott Daniels' slip providing Cohen Griffiths with a simple chance. But Exeter woke themselves up after that and were desperately unlucky not to be back on level terms by half-time. The consistent pressure finally paid off 12 minutes into the second half, when Ronnie Jepson provided a spectacular finish to Stuart Storer's cross. It was Jepson's 4th goal in as many games. But Exeter didn't stay on level terms for long, as more suspect defending eventually gave John Cornwall the opportunity to put the visitors back in front. But Exeter weren't to be denied their first point of the new season, though they had to wait until 4 minutes from time to force a second equaliser, which owed much to the bravery of Stuart Storer. Peter Shilton might have regretted his decision to delay his Plymouth Argyle comeback when understudy Ray Newland's dreadful clearance paved the way for Blackpool to take the lead from the penalty spot, Brian Griffiths giving the young goalkeeper no chance to redeem himself. Argyle were a little unfortunate not to grab an equaliser when Steve Castle headed against the bar, an indication perhaps that it wasn't to be their night, a fact which was confirmed when Dwight Marshall decided to exact his own retribution for a reckless tackle by Mitch Cook, which brought the inevitable red card. To add insult to injury, Cook then produced a key ball to unlock Argyle's offside trap, and Andy Watson strolled in to help himself to Blackpool's second goal. Argyle were blessed with some good fortune, though, when Michael Davies was adjudged to have pulled down Steve Castle in the box, though the replay suggests that he made contact with the ball rather than the player. Castle wasn't arguing, though, as he tucked away his 4th goal of the season.
Well, still with football, and Dorchester Town are the first Westcountry club to start the search for a new manager this season. Paul Arnold has been sacked by the Beza Homes League club after 2 years in charge at the Avenue Stadium. He's paid the price for a narrow escape from relegation last season and 4 straight defeats at the start of this one. Senior player Gary Borthwick has been put in temporary charge and the job will be advertised shortly. Well, there's an hour in the month, and that means it's time for rugby again. The new season kicks off tonight, and there's a mouth-watering match in prospect at Redruth, as Trina Lake now reports.
There's always a special flavour to local derbies, and when it's Redruth versus Camborne on the rugby field, expect a bit of extra spice. The arch-rivals clearly couldn't wait to get at each other this season. They've picked the first available date to cross swords at the recreation ground. Redruth are well below full strength. Only 3 of last season's Cornwall Cup winning side are available, but Camborne will be fielding a near first-choice lineup. The match kicks off at 6:30. It's been a summer of change at Plymouth Albion, with a new committee now in charge at the club. And after 2 disastrous seasons, there's a new mood of optimism at Beacon Park. Albion open up at home to Irish First Division side Cork Constitution, kick-off 7:15. And they'll use tonight's game, and the one at Weston on Saturday, to gauge the strength of their squad.
Well, that's just about it for now. Tomorrow night we'll have the main highlights from that Redruth-Camborne clash and a look ahead to the big match at the County Ground in Exeter tomorrow night. That's it for now.
And, of course, we have the All Blacks tour down here later on. I think it's, in about 5 or 6 weeks' time to look forward to. Time on the programme now to get a full rundown on the weather in the company of Ron Bendel.
You know, I'm sure there's a lot of psychology in this old weather thing, you know. For the past few days, everyone seems just so much more cheerful than they did a week or 2 back when it was raining every day. Their mortgages or overdrafts, whatever, haven't gone away, yet it all seems to make them all a lot more acceptable on a day like today when it's been warm and sunny. And stand by to keep on smiling for a day or so yet. It's still looking good. Starting, in fact, with tonight, when it's going to be another fine and dry night with very little cloud about. Mist will form inland soon after dark, though, and there's the risk of a few fog patches in rural areas by dawn. And that could mean it'll be a chilly night with lowest temperatures near 9 Celsius. That's only 48 Fahrenheit. The wind, light and mainly southeasterly, and that wind will fall to calm inland. Tomorrow, well, Thursday's going to be another sunny day, with any of this early mist and fog soon clearing. And it'll be warm again, the temperature rising very quickly after a chilly start to reach 22 Celsius, that's 72 Fahrenheit inland. I must say, though, coasts will be a little cooler as sea breezes will pick up in the afternoon. But the general wind direction is going to be easterly and the speed only light to moderate. If you have a look there at the tide times for tomorrow, looking at the coastal conditions and the surf conditions, of course, nothing too good there. Tides, Newquay, if you are going surfing, 6:55 in the morning, 7:09 in the evening. And to end, the outlook for Friday, a little cooler, but staying dry.
Ron, we heard earlier about Fiona Campbell, who walked across Africa saying she had to prepare for, learning the traditions and that sort of thing of the country she was
probably just stay safe.
Something you've had to do, is it?
Yeah, I don't think she's in much danger, though. She's got this big camera crew following her around, as I can see, with the key gaffer threatening to beat off people.
It is easy to run 4,000.
You can upset people. I was, this trip I made years back, the only exciting thing I've ever done, actually, hitchhiked out to Afghanistan, but in Iran, Persia, took a train for a few miles across the Great Salt Desert and took a pack of playing cards out. And the waiter on the train sort of more or less saved our lives. He snatched them away because it's one of those things you get your hands removed for, if you've got a pile of threes or something like that. And it's pretty dangerous.
Yeah, no, we're quite so exotic for this holiday, Ron, but enjoy it.
I will.
Nonetheless, won't you?
I will.
We'll see you soon. Have a good time.
Thanks a lot.
It's time now on the programme for a summary of the national news. Our signer tonight is Peter Wareham.
The Department of Health is trying to trace 300 women who may be at risk from contracting the human form of the cattle disease, BSE. All had fertility treatment using a hormone injection. Women who were given the therapy are being offered counselling. President Clinton has announced plans which could drastically reshape the American armed forces. He intends to limit the number of new planes, ships and reduce manpower. And a crowd of 40,000 have clapped and cheered Michael Jackson during a concert in Singapore. The singer cancelled the performance 2 days ago after complaining of serious head injuries.
South West Water is being threatened with more legal action over pollution of the region's beaches. It's already facing prosecution from a Devon landowner. Now the Marine Conservation Society says it too may take the company to court. A 15-year-old Westcountry boy who's been ignoring his parents now says he wants to divorce them. The teenager, who can't be named, has now set up home with the family next door. And a member of staff at a Torbay hospital has been seriously assaulted. It happened in the psychiatric unit of the Edith Morgan Centre. Police are investigating the matter.
Something now which is likely to be in the news tomorrow. It's the first meeting this season of the Quantock Staghounds. It's without a doubt going to be a high-profile event with the pro- and anti-hunting lobby out in force. On tomorrow's West Country Live, we'll be following the day's events.
Also, don't forget our part 2 of our special series on West Country firefighters. Tomorrow we're going to start with the men of Camel's Head. At one of the busiest stations in Devon, they can be called upon day or night. We follow them through their shift, sticking with them when they're called out and when they're back at base. That's part 2 of our behind-the-scenes look at life in the fire brigade tomorrow night here on West Country Live. There, you saw them, didn't you?
Yes.
Those kittens?
Those little kittens.
Yeah, we'll have more of that dramatic
very
rescue,
sweet.
won't we? Yeah. Okay, that's it.
We're going to leave you tonight with some pictures of the Avenger, HMS Avenger, leaving Plymouth on her way to Novorossiysk in Russia.
We'll see you tomorrow, 6 o'clock.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Tonight, a fantasy is a cruel reality.
I really didn't expect it to happen.
When the game has gone too far.
I really didn't expect to see blood.
It's just drugged up kids decided to act out this Dungeons and Dragons fantasy for real.
You think you might try again?
Cruel Doubt, tonight at 9 on West Country.
A truly fantastic balancing act next, plus nude radio and the supermarket till with strange powers.
In the morning, when you stare at your reflection, it seems to say you need Aquafresh protection. So don't be a chump, reach for the bump. Aquafresh.
Aquafresh has 3 stripes to help fight tooth decay, gum disease and plaque, giving your family 3-in-1 protection.
Brush, brush, get down to the rhythm, pump, pump. It's the right stuff to give them. It gives you a buzz when you know what it does. Aquafresh, not just a pretty base.
In your quest pack, you'll discover that the tallest mountain on Earth is underwater. How one predator can smell blood from half a mile away. That some missiles travel at more than twice the speed of sound. And why some fish are more poisonous than a cobra. There are models, posters, projects and fact sheets to collect. And part 1 is at the special price of 30p. Discover the world of science with Quest.
Sometimes the headlines can get in the way, confusing the issues, distorting the facts. Don't settle for the paper's point of view. We let the people making the news tell their own story, live, every weekday morning. GMTV, more than just the headlines.
Friday at 9:30, astounding stories from Michael Aspel.
Were aliens linked to a man's death in the UFO epicenter of Britain?
And is this woman really the reincarnated mother of a family of Irish pensioners?
How the hell did she come to know so much about the family?
Investigating strange but true tales, Friday at 9:30.
Now, for the last time this series, here's Jonathan Ross with Fantastic Facts.
Fantastic Facts is presented in association with Thomas Cook Foreign Exchange.
Still struggling for this time of year, and the winds, after calming down overnight, well, they tend to pick up with a bit of a keen breeze out in the west. That's all from me. Have a good evening.
Sponsored by PowerGen, a partner in Kinetica Natural Gas.
The government's care in the community policy comes under fire. We speak to the new Director of Mental Health Services for South Devon. Join us in a couple of minutes.
We are not pals. But they are crime-busting partners on the trail of an unwelcome visitor. James Caan stars in Alien Nation, Monday at 9.
Now you can get that airy scent of spring in a washing up liquid, because now there's new Spring Fresh Fairy. So you get that wonderful spring fresh feeling every time you wash up. New Spring Fresh Fairy. Spring bottled.
When you decide you want a conservatory, you know it'll be great for sunny breakfasts, children's lunchtime parties, afternoon tea and cake with Auntie, or evening drinks with friends. But at the end of the day, you know you want a conservatory from a company you can trust, and with 40% off and a 15-year guarantee. Call Modec on 0800 23 24 25.
This autumn's drama at the Theatre Royal Plymouth. David Suchet giving the comic performance of a lifetime in What a Performance. John Nettles in the witty and elegant classic The Provoked Wife. Anton Rogers and Elizabeth Garvey in the beautiful and moving true love story Shadowlands. Laughs, lust and love this autumn at the Theatre Royal Plymouth.
You can buy fresh pork chops for only 99p a pound. Where? Plimco, for extra low prices week in, week out.
If you don't call 0800 33 0800 today, you'll never know how much you might save on your home insurance.
From Vision Express, you can have prescription sunglasses worth at least £89 absolutely free. Just buy a new pair of glasses or contact lenses and we'll give you a pair of prescription sunglasses, even bifocals or varifocals, free.
I came to Vision Express for the 2-for-1 offer and had 2 pairs of glasses made within the hour.
I got 2 pair of prescription glasses, one of which were a pair of sunglasses in little over an hour.
Free prescription sunglasses, even bifocals and varifocals, in the 2-for-1 offer at Vision Express.
Whirlpool, the world's #1 washing machine manufacturer, are now delivering their machines all over Europe. But to get clothes really clean, which detergent did they choose to remove tough stains? After testing numerous detergents, Whirlpool found that Ariel, Europe's best-selling detergent, gave them outstanding cleaning. Whirlpool and Ariel, together bringing quality cleaning into your life.
Tomorrow night, travel to Ghana for another tale from an African hospital. Dive beneath the surface of a stagnant rural pond in Wild Britain. And then move back in time with the Brando season.
You don't offer friendship. You don't even think to call me Godfather.
It's another great journey through Thursday night with 4.
When a God-fearing town plays host to murder.
What sort of a woman was Jessica Doble?
I thought she was unpleasant and inherently bad.
Who hated enough to kill?
She didn't give a fig about us.
A private life becomes public property.
Did she have lovers?
1 or 2. The woman was a few weeks pregnant. No, it isn't mine.
I loved her. It's all so confusing.
A new case for Cornish detective Wycliffe, Sunday at 8 on West Country.
Hello and welcome from us all to West Country Live on the 17th of August.
The headlines this Wednesday evening.
A victim's mother joins the attack on care in the community.
Corky, the comeback cockerel, is coming home to roost.
And up and away, wacky Weymouth gets ready to go carnival crazy.
And I'll be going surf crazy later in the programme with a look at how the language, the clothes and of course the sport are making such a big splash here in the West Country.
Back on dry land, tonight's Sport Roundup looks to Exeter City to get Devon bubbling after a flat night in the Coca-Cola Cup. Plymouth Argyle's problems mount up in the Midlands with 2 red cards and another heavy defeat.
But first, the main news this Wednesday evening. The government's care in the community policies facing renewed attack today. The mother of an occupational therapist killed by a psychiatric patient at Torbay Hospital has joined other relatives and MPs in fresh criticism. It follows a scathing report into killings by the mentally ill. Sean Brickell reports.
The report calls for decisive action to help prevent the deaths of people like Georgina Robinson. She was stabbed to death by a mentally ill patient in 1993.
It's all right in some aspects. It's going in the right direction, but I feel that it is nowhere near going far enough, and the measures are not strong enough. And I feel that the government is not committed enough in this aspect with dealing with these people. I wonder, actually, whether they know what to do with them.
Her killer, Andrew Robinson, who's no relation, was a patient at the Edith Morgan Psychiatric Unit at Torbay Hospital. His mother feels just as sceptical.
Well, the basic problem, I think, is lack of communication between psychiatrists, between professional care workers, and there's nobody in charge of the teams. And until these are addressed, then people like Andrew will go on slipping through the net, so to speak.
Georgina's death was one of 22 killings between July 1992 and December 1993, which was looked at in the independent report. Its author, Dr. William Boyd, concluded that more must be done to support mental patients, especially once they're released back into the community.
Those who are mentally ill are a very small proportion of all homicides, but even so, I think it's vitally important that we do anything we can to try and prevent any unnecessary deaths.
He adds that a register's been set up to monitor the mentally ill once they're released into the community. But for people like Georgina Robinson, it came too late. Sean Brickell for West Country Live.
A few moments ago, I spoke to Dr. Margaret Cork, the Director of Mental Health Services for the South Devon Healthcare Trust. I asked her if the report addressed the problems of care in the community.
I think the report highlights a number of areas that still need further work. In particular, it comments that the prediction of dangerousness and of risk presented by psychiatric patients still needs further study.
Are you going to be implementing any changes, do you think?
Clearly, I will need to study the report in depth with my clinical colleagues. Furthermore, I will need to await the outcome of the inquiry into the death of Georgina Robinson. At that point, we will be implementing the recommendations that come out of that review.
Do you think that you or anybody else could ever give a cast-iron guarantee that a death like Georgina's wouldn't happen again?
That is very, very difficult to give. There is much debate in psychiatry at the moment concerning how well we can predict dangerousness. However, that debate gives me courage, as I really do think that our ability to predict will get better.
And finally, Labour has described the health ministers as being breathtakingly complacent. Do you agree?
No, I don't. A number of measures have been put in place. Care programme approach legislation, the supervision register, to name but two.
The Attorney General is to review the case of a drunken lorry driver allowed to walk free from a court after killing a Somerset teenager. Lee Taziker was twice over the limit when he knocked down 17-year-old John Smith near his home in South Petherton. John Ray reports.
John Smith's family was outraged by their son's killer, 240 hours community service. The maximum term for the offence is 10 years in jail. John, a trainee mechanic, was hit by a 28-ton articulated lorry driven by Lee Taziker. He was twice over the drink-drive limit.
We just couldn't believe it.
since they've increased the maximum from 5 years to 10 years, we weren't kidding ourselves. We thought at least 5, but to get nothing was just beyond belief.
This is the second time Attorney General Sir Nicholas Lyle has intervened in a local court's ruling in recent months. Earlier this year, he was asked to re-examine the case of Andrew Bray, sentenced to 5 years for killing Plymouth schoolboy Jonathan Roberts. Sir Nicholas has the power to refer unduly lenient sentences to the Court of Appeal. In the Bray case, he took no action. He will announce his decision on the John Smith case within 28 days. John Ray for West Country Live.
Other West Country news in brief, there's been an increase in the number of people in the West Country out of work and claiming benefit. Figures for Somerset show a rise of more than 300 people. In Dorset too, the total increased last month by 42. The figures for Devon show a larger increase, nearly 600 more people are out of work. But it's good news for Cornwall, where there's been a decrease in the unemployment figure of more than 200.
And more good news for Cornwall now. £1 million worth of shares in the county's last working tin mine are being put in the post today. Every one of the South Crofty certificates has been stamped with a memento of the mine's own tin. Last month, an appeal to save the mine raised £1 million. The government's now agreed to write off other debts totalling £30 million. Remember the row about Corky the noisy cockerel? Feathers look like they're going to be ruffled again because on Friday, Corky will come home to roost. His owner says she's bringing him out of an exile and, at the same time, she's declared herself bankrupt. Marjorie Johns from North Devon owes £30,000 in legal bills. She went to court after her neighbour complained the cockerel was too noisy. With the latest, here's Jane Francis Kelly.
At one stage, it seemed like we'd never hear the end of the row between Corky's owner and their next-door neighbour. Last year, a court ordered Marjorie Johns to remove the bird because a neighbouring couple complained about his early morning crowing. But now she says, after studying the noise injunction, she believes she can bring Corky back home without breaching it.
I can wire off a corner of the chicken run and then he can come back and he won't be breaking the injunction at all.
Her neighbour John Richings disagrees. He says if Corky returns, he'll go through the legal action all over again.
If Mrs. Johns is intent on causing a nuisance again, then I regret I have no course of action other than to go back to court.
Mrs. Johns has now declared herself voluntarily bankrupt because she can't pay her existing legal debts. Meanwhile, Corky, oblivious to the dispute, is residing at the Milky Way Farming and Wildlife Centre in Clovelly. Come Friday, Corky will leave his present home and find himself back on familiar territory and at the centre of another row. Jane Francis Kelly at the Milky Way in Clovelly for West Country Live.
After 5 years of neglect, Torquay's Coral Island Leisure Centre could reopen as an aquarium, a casino or a roller disco. They're just some of the ideas being discussed at a council-run brainstorming session today. And as Manfred Roxon reports, there's no time to lose if the decaying seafront attraction is to be saved from the bulldozers.
When Coral Island opened in 1977, it seemed a surefire money spinner. Breathtaking views across Torbay and a range of attractions looked like an unbeatable combination. Things got off to a good start, but rapidly went downhill. The leaseholders closed the centre 5 years ago. Today it stands vandalised and abandoned. Torbay Council only regained control of the building earlier this year. In the leisure centre's brief heyday in the early 1980s, these harbourside shops cashed in as tourists and locals made their way to and from Coral Island. And now pressure is mounting to revive the decaying centre.
The traders themselves at the moment would love to see it, even in its original form, trading, drawing people down into the area.
Now a Weymouth-based company says it could reopen as an aquarium, although there are rival plans for a casino, a restaurant run by catering students, even a roller disco.
We're putting it on the market. We are hoping to have something completed by the end of 1996.
The leisure industry is still recovering from the recession, and so whoever takes on this crumbling white elephant will have to be sure they've done their sums right. That's because before anything else, they'll face a repair bill of £500,000. Manfred Roxon in Torquay for West Country Live.
Time to see what else is making news in the West Country today. With his report from the east of our region, here's David Whitborn.
Good evening. A man from Somerset has been killed in a hit-and-run accident in the Dutch West Indies.
Richard Carter from Taunton was 32 and worked for a firm of Bristol consultants. His body's being flown back for the funeral. 2 swimmers have been rescued from the sea near Torquay Harbour. The men, both in their mid-30s, were caught on a rising tide in deep water. One was unconscious when he was pulled from the sea. The second later collapsed on shore. Both are now in Torbay Hospital. The condition of the first man is said to be serious. The racing driver Nigel Mansell has been given permission to build himself a 6-bedroom house at Woodbury near Exeter. Mansell, who's a keen golfer, is also believed to be investing around £5 million in the Woodbury Park golf course. That's it from Exeter. Back to you now.
And with an update on the body found washed ashore in West Cornwall yesterday, Louise Midgley's in Truro.
Yes, good evening. Police have identified the woman found dead in the harbour at Falmouth yesterday. She was 61-year-old Joan Joll, who lived in the town. An inquest will be opened into her death tomorrow. The Department of Education's roadshow faced a tough task when it arrived in Newquay today. One of its main roles is to stress the benefits of opting out of state control. Yet so far, not a single school in Cornwall has done so. And a team from RAF Portreath have smashed the world record for the European Cape to Cape Challenge. They set off at the weekend to drive from the southern tip of Spain to the far north of Norway. They arrived at their destination at lunchtime today, shaving almost 60 hours off the previous record. Well done to them. Gavin.
And with news from the North Devon Magistrates Court, Jane Francis Kelly joins us from Barnstaple.
Good evening. A 38-year-old Barnstaple man accused of assaulting a policeman has been committed to Crown Court. Robert Jones of Sticklepath Terrace is charged with attacking the Clumpton PC on May the 1st and breaking into a Bideford house 4 days later. He was remanded in custody by Barnstaple magistrates. Civic pressure groups in West Somerset are angry that councillors have been accepting free passes to Butlins in Minehead. They believe members of West Somerset District Council aren't abiding by their code of conduct, and the district auditor has been asked to investigate. Barnstaple has won the region's Britain in Bloom competition. It's been judged the best in the West. The top town has been chosen from 80 entries to go forward into next year's national competition. That's it, Gavin.
My front garden there. And with her Plymouth report, here's Linda Watt.
Good evening. A private security firm paid for by residents in the Hartley area of Plymouth claims crime in the area has plummeted. Estate Security charges each householder who wants to subscribe £5 a month to patrol the streets. They say the presence of staff in uniform acts as a strong deterrent to offenders. Publishers ordered to pay a Plymouth couple £1.5 million in damages have lodged an appeal against the ruling. IPC magazines criticised Walker Wing Sail's boat, the Blue Nova, in an article. The Libel Award is the second largest in English history. A group of Plymouth residents has called on the council to help declare the Barbican an alcohol-free zone. People living there want the authority to enforce a bylaw, but it would only apply to those who've already had a police warning. That's it. Back to the studio.
The sun shone on Weymouth Carnival today as clouds rolled away and the crowds rolled in. The resort runs one of the biggest events anywhere along the south coast, and right now the parade is making its way along the prom. Here's John Andrews.
There've been events all day long, on the beach, in the air, on the water and on the prom. You could just sit back and enjoy it, or get stuck in and make the most of it, if you could take the pace.
There's been some good times this year compared to last year.
It's only a small car, it's not that hard, is it?
It's a long distance.
The trick is to take the harness off before the car reverses back down the track. But with so much happening, it was easy to get in a spin. It's fun for young and old, and I'm not saying what I am. Well, I was definitely too old for the sandcastle competition. Weymouth's Round Table has spent a nervous night listening to the gales howling and the rain pouring down. But by mid-morning, it was as good a day as anyone could hope for. You made £27,000 for local charities last year. How is it going to go this year?
At the moment, very, very well. The draw is on target for a bumper year, and the programme is doing very well.
The Red Arrows are one of the day's highlights. We got this exclusive preview.
3, 2, 1...
Weymouth's the only carnival I know that has its own newspaper, but I'm not sure that the distorter is to be taken too seriously. See, even Queen Victoria's looking amused. And so were a lot of other historical and mythical characters as the floats gathered for the carnival parade. Scores and scores of pubs, clubs and societies have entered, and they'll be making their way along Weymouth Esplanade as you watch this. If they don't win a prize for their decorated float, there's always the fancy dress competition afterwards to give them a second chance. And then there's more fun through the evening with dances, prize draws and a magnificent fireworks display being set off in the bay to bring the day's events to a grand finale. There's such an unlikely collection of characters here, from Captain Hook to at least a dozen Fred Flintstones. Everyone's put such an amazing amount of effort into these floats, and it's really paid off. John Andrews at Weymouth for Westcountry Live.
But what was John dressed as? Still to come tonight on Westcountry Live, an in-depth look at surfing in the West Country. It's a sport which has thousands hooked, and for some, it's a habit they simply can't kick.
Once you experience riding across the face of one wave, there's not a lot to really compare to it.
Join us for Surf Crazy after the break. See you in a few minutes.
Every year, there's so much more to see and do at Flambard. It's the biggest and brightest family day out ever with our new Family Super Saver tickets. With tops for value, tops for interest, tops for fun. Flambard's Helston.
According to Vogue magazine, I found the best ever hair care product. I expect you have too.
I don't know how you cope with it. Oh, you manage. Do you? Well, don't you know about child benefit? Benefit, child benefit. Yes. When you go down the post office for your stamps, you hand over your book, she gives you the money.
It's brilliant,
you see. It comes straight to you, see.
Dale, what are you doing there?
Who's she?
Don't know, he just met her, I think.
Stop that.
Drink it. Don't spit it out. Come here. You've got all this to look forward to.
Yes.
Lovely.
Safeway have sliced all their ripe, juicy Spanish melons to just 99 pence. Another summer special from Safeway, where good value comes naturally.
Take a Thomas Cook. At our own range of Summer Sun 95 holidays, there's great discounts and thousands of kids go free.
The Gypsy Kings, their greatest hits. It just wouldn't be summer without them.
You're an experienced driver, and here's your reward. Landmark's created insurance expressly for you. It takes a load off your mind. Because we won't cover careless drivers, you don't carry their costs. You get outstanding service, including express claim settlement, free courtesy car, and up to 70% protected no claims bonus. Now, this service is only available if you're over 45. If not, please be patient. Stop carrying careless drivers. Phone Landmark now, 0500 747 700. Thank you.
Welcome back to West Country Live. Now, you may have noticed that Alison's been away for a few days. Well, she's been busy on the beaches preparing an Insight special report on surfing culture.
Yes, I've gone completely surf crazy. It's not just the freedom of the sea and the dream of catching a perfect wave, but there's the clothes, the language and the big business. The modern era of surfing in the West Country is about 30 years old. English pioneers took to the water in the mid and late 60s at beaches like St Agnes, Porthtowan and Fistral, with imported Malibu boards and homemade copies. By 1966, the Great Britain Surfboard Championships was being held at Fistral Beach. 30 years on, championships are still being held at Fistral, with Westcountry surfers taking on the best in the world. Surfing is an established part of the region's culture and economy, with thousands taking to the waves throughout the year on bodyboards, shortboards, longboards, wave skis and canoes. Surfing has an elite, but it's not necessarily elitist, and the average man or woman on the street can join in. You just have to decide which form of surfing suits you best. Be warned, your choice will place you in a surfing social class. On the whole, longboarders don't like shortboarders, they don't like longboarders or bodyboarders. The bodyboarders feel no one respects them and no one likes the wave skis. Each group has its own heroes and its own skills, but perhaps the fastest growing section in Britain is bodyboarding, mainly because it's the most accessible. Kainoa McGee is ranked second in the world.
I've noticed worldwide that it's just everywhere. No matter where you go, it's bigger. And a lot of the younger generation, they're not riding surfboards as much, anymore. A lot of them have switched to bodyboarding. I think because it's a safer sport and there's more versatility to it, You're not just taking off and standing up on every wave. You can get up and drop knee, you can knee board, you can ride on your back, you can stand up, you can prone, you can do whatever you want. As to surfing, you can just stand up, period.
Most surfers teach themselves. Every beginner has to go through the embarrassment of putting on the wetsuit back to front or tying the leash to the wrong part of your body and falling off the board a lot. There is another option. The British Surfing Association runs surf schools, and with a couple of hours tuition, they reckon most complete novices will get to stand up on a board. Beginners can be put off by the apparent elitism of the experienced surfers, but that's something you've just got to live with.
Toes up. 1, 2, go!
Everyone has to make a fool of themselves. I mean, I had to about 27 years ago when I taught myself, and there were no teachers then. I would have learned a lot quicker if I'd been able to go to someone and say, can you take me out solidly for 3 hours? What occurs is that someone says, oh, here's a board, here's a suit, I'll take you down the beach, and then they suddenly disappear out the back, leaving you floundering. Whereas if you're a paid instructor, you're there for 3 hours, you get to give them a lesson, and then they learn very quickly. I think the elitism or the snobbery comes from the fact that it's a hard-won skill. To become a good surfer, you really have to put some hours in. I mean, to become a first-class surfer, in most conditions in this country, you probably have to go most of the time for about a year before you can say you can have a good time anywhere. And they're quite proud of that skill they've learned.
The language of surfing is easy and accessible. As my assistant, Mr. Raquel, and I will now demonstrate with a short glossary of terms. Wipeout.
What Miss Johns is trying to say is that this is where a skeg, as they call them in Australia, falls base over apex, unfortunately on the wrong side of the wave, providing him with a large but unexpected mouthful of sand. The words "oh drat," "ow," and are quite commonly used.
Stoked.
This is when the aforementioned surfer expresses his or her exhilaration with succinct but irregular colloquialisms.
Gnarly.
This is not the latest in the range of high-performance motorbikes, but an expression of something equally dangerous.
Radical.
A more conventional meaning might be essential or seeking anti-South action during the time of the American Civil War. In this case, it means excellent or supreme.
Now we can move on to some slightly more complicated words which we can use to build up sentences. Outside.
This means there's a worryingly large wave approaching, with the inference being paddle like mad in the right direction.
Impact zone.
This is the point where the wave reaches maximum velocity. It's advised to be elsewhere at this point.
Inside.
Insiders will know that inside means being on the inside of the outside, but not quite in the impact zone. Outsiders should take note.
Now let's move on to add some other words to our growing vocabulary. Line-up.
A line-up of stoked dudes waiting for the waves.
Set.
Those anticipated waves arriving for said stoked dudes.
Clean-up set.
An unfortunate moment, really, for the surfers when they all get knocked off their boards by a much larger set of large waves than they'd expected. A heart and even leg-breaking experience, which parts both surfer and board.
Good. Now let's learn some technical terms. Hang 10, pure hang 5, stretch hang 5.
I haven't the faintest idea.
Perhaps a little advanced for a first lesson. Let's instead build up a sentence using the vocabulary we have learnt today. The clean-up set breaks way outside the inside and wipes out the line-up.
Or as they say in Welsh, casgled o tonau anferth, syth an cymryd pa moyn I dromoedd, ac fethu, an syddio o'i offer a nadio i'r môr.
Radical. Although surfing seems to be predominantly the domain of young, fit men, it is a sport which attracts men and women of all ages. 12-year-old Mark Harris is from Newquay, and he's English under-14 champion.
I started surfing at 6 and I started on a boogie board and I stood up on that and my dad brought me a surfboard. It just progressed from there.
Gwyneth Haslock has been surfing in the Westcountry since 1966, as these home movies demonstrate. In the 60s, she started first with a wooden board, then moved on to Malibus when they arrived from foreign shores. She became British women's champion, and she's still surfing.
I think it's open to men and women at all ages, from youngsters to old age pensioners. And as long as you do it with your own limitations and you respect the sea.
And even those who've experienced the glamour and excitement of rock stardom can still get a buzz from surfing in the Westcountry. Andrew Ridgely, ex-member of Wham, is moving to Cornwall and says surfing is as exciting as his other love, motor racing.
I mean, if it's fairly big overhead, there's the same sort of feeling of tension and apprehension sometimes before you paddle out, because it can get heavy. And that was always the same if you're on a start line in a racing car, waiting for the lights to go. It's the same kind of buzz. There is an adrenaline kick out of it, no doubt, and there is that element of danger as well, which I think obviously inspires that.
Surfing is above all a sport and a chance for anyone to get out in the water and have fun. But here in the Westcountry, it's also big business. Gull International is based in Bodmin. It employs 135 people and this year will make 150,000 wetsuits, shipping them to 35 countries. Its annual turnover is around £7 million, all a far cry from its roots 30 years ago.
Gull started in a very small way back in '67 in Newquay, right at the very beginning of the surfing industry, in a small lock-up garage.
The company has sailed through 2 recessions, a fact which doesn't really surprise the boss.
When you consider the amount of young people there are and the attraction of the water in the Westcountry, you know, there's surfing, there's windsurfing, there's water skiing, there's dinghy sailing, and young people will always find money for their sport.
It's not just the young who are getting into the water. Many people in the surfing industry are pointing to the reappearance of the 40-somethings on expensive boards.
There's thousands of them. There's absolutely thousands of them. I'm seeing guys in the water that I learnt to surf with back in the late 60s, early 70s, that suddenly disappeared off the face of the earth. And suddenly, it was only the other day I was in Watergate, and 3 guys came up to me that were all from Plymouth, who I hadn't seen for years, and they were there riding longboards.
The re-emergence of the longboard has also been noted by Chops Lascelles. He shapes boards and his business is based in St Agnes. Over the last 20 years, he's seen fashions change.
Surfboards have changed dramatically. They've, if anything, gone full cycle.
When I started surfing, they were longboards, really big traditional longboards. We went right down in the late 60s to ridiculously short boards, and then we climbed back up again.
What about colours as well, and actually designs on the boards? Presumably there are changing fashions with those as well.
Yeah, oh yeah. Once again, we've gone from the basic clear board to the full-on airbrushed, you know, work of art board, back down to a clear board again, and now it's just variable. It's simple, fairly simple colour designs and that, but tasteful, not sort of, you know, fluorescence and things like that at this stage of the game. I'm not saying it won't come back. Everything seems to go full cycle in this game.
Changing fashions don't just affect boards. Surf clothing is very big business in the southwest. The labels have to be right, and they're not cheap. There are those who rue the day surfing hit the West Country, but those involved in the industry say without it, some seaside towns just wouldn't survive.
It's the biggest growing industry I think Cornwall have got, and there's no two ways about that. I mean, people think because I'm in the business myself, they think, oh, he's got a surf shop, so he's making a lot of money out of it. But these people have got to eat, they've got to drink, and you know, and they've got to put petrol in the cars, and everybody's benefited from it. I don't think Newquay could afford to lose the surfing business. You know, the town couldn't afford to lose it. It's too much money involved in it for everybody.
Surfing has caused some problems. A couple of years ago, some residents in Newquay felt things were getting out of control.
Well, the scene at Greetham would have been many old vans, tents, and even the super caravans that were worth £80,000 or more. The old vans that had flat tyres and were just parked at the side of the roadside, cooking their breakfast and being totally inconsiderate to the people and residents that live in this area.
What sort of behaviour were you getting from the people there at the time?
Well, they were coming down, parking their vans, they were urinating on the side of the road, just cooking at the side of the verge and just dumping their rubbish on the verge rather than clearing it away. And it was causing a lot of problems.
The problem was solved, here at least, by the introduction of a ban on overnight sleeping. And the surfers themselves seem to be back in favour.
Genuine surfers are very keen sportsmen, good athletes. And my son's a very keen surfer. They come down, they do their sport, it's very healthy, they clear up and they go away. I believe it's the hangers-on and the people that just wanted a free holiday by the sea.
And at least one hotelier who had in the past complained about the surf fraternity is now offering surfing holidays with tuition and accommodation included. There are still culture clashes, but many acknowledge that even if they dislike the surfers and their entourage, the region's economy needs them. And politically, surfers are now a minority group with clout. Surfers Against Sewage is a pressure group which in 4 years has amassed a membership of 14,500 people, turning over £250,000 a year.
what we've actually done now is to prove ourselves to be an intelligent campaigning force capable of taking on the government, National Rivers Authority and the might of the privatised water industry. I think people now have a due respect for us.
This is Fistral Beach in Newquay, Surf City, UK. That way, Perranporth, St Agnes, that way, Watergate Bay and Polzeath. This whole stretch of coastline has a strong surfing tradition, but some would say its surfing routes lie a few thousand miles that way. This is Huntington Beach, California, Surf City, USA. That way, Laguna Beach, Newport, Dana Point, that way, Long Beach and Malibu. And it's cool today, only 70 degrees.
I started surfing when I was about 2. My dad would take me out to the beach and just put me on a board and take off on a whitewater and kind of hold on to me the whole time, but just grab my arm and stand me up. So I can't really remember what it's like not to surf, and for me it's just been, it was something that was always a hobby that turned into a career.
How important do you think surfing is to a place like Huntington?
If you think of Huntington Beach, everybody always thinks Surf City, USA or whatever. It's definitely part of the cultural heritage of this town. I mean, somewhere during the 20s and 30s, a few pioneer surfers, Tom Blake and a few other people came here, thought that the pier and everything that was constructed was just awesome. A lot of people hanging out, a real cool place to go surfing. And I mean, as soon as surfing started to take off, this was definitely one of the coolest places you could be to go surfing, you know. It was like almost like a little Hollywood of sorts, you know. You can see that the surf stoke is worldwide, you know, it's all over the place. You know, I hear there's waves in like Lake Michigan and people surf there and think they're surfers and stuff, so everybody's into it, you know.
And the surf stoke is worldwide. Here at Fistral, the Headworks Pro Surf competition is in full swing, with some of the best surfers in the world competing for up to $60,000 in prize money. The surf fans came, the tabloids arrived with their models, but the waves didn't turn up. On the final day, with nothing to surf, the competition was called off.
We really appreciate the work that Headworks has put into this event. It was extremely professionally run, a great atmosphere here in Newquay, and unfortunately, surfing can never control nature, so that's the way the cookie crumbles.
Bad news for the surf scene in the West Country. But there was one positive note. 18-year-old Russell Winter, who's from Newquay, scored the best marked wave of the contest. It's hard to explain why balancing on a board on top of a wave has such a strong attraction, particularly when the water is freezing, the waves are unpredictable, and sometimes few and far between. For some, there is a mystique attached to the power of the sea, the pull of the moon, and the fight against the forces of nature. For others, it's their life.
Once you experience riding across the face of one wave, there's not a lot to really compare to it.
It's the freedom. Once you're out in the sea, you forget everything, your work, and it's just a good psychological mind switching off from everything else.
Yes, it keeps me alive. And I'll continue to surf for as long as I possibly can. It's a drug.
Any excuse to go to California. But it looks as though you enjoyed yourself there.
I've had a wonderful time. I've met some wonderful people. I mean, Joey from California said the surf stoke is worldwide. And that is true. Everywhere you go, there are people who just love being out there. There's waves, there's the sea, the wind in your hair. I mean, it's a wonderful life.
Well, of
Do you
course,
surf?
well, I live near some of the West Country's best beaches for surfing, of course. And I play golf. Now, some of our local footballers appear to be all at sea at the moment. Oh, here's Tom with the details.
Well, Plymouth Argyle aren't exactly riding the crest of a wave after another disappointing performance. And after sinking at Lord's, Somerset's cricketers will be hoping to get back on course when they head for the seaside tomorrow.
That's all coming up after the break. Don't go away.
Toilet Duck is back! With a new improved formula that provides greater power in the fight against germs and limescale that lurk beneath the rim, helping to keep your toilet clean and fresh. New formula Toilet Duck, another victory for Duck.
If you soak your dentures, what would get you to switch to new improved denture cream?
If it got my dentures really clean.
In just 90 seconds, denture cream removes even the toughest stains from your dentures.
If it got them really fresh.
New improved denture cream tastes minty fresh.
Clean.
Fresh.
New improved denture cream, now even better.
A lot of showmanship in running a restaurant and a hotel. You really have to be on your toes.
We try to achieve perfection, try and make people welcome here, that they do come back. You get nights where things seem to jump out of the pan. She says, "Darling, what have you done?" I said, "Trying to earn a living." She said, "What, all over your jacket?"
I used to use another powder. Take it out and you think, no, it's not right, it's not right. And that's when I discovered Ariel.
With tough food stains like red wine sauce, some powders may only get it nearly clean. But Ariel Ultra tackles it better to get it really clean.
I love listening to the comments of the guests because I feel very, very proud when it's all been finished.
It's sort of a little miracle every day.
Ariel, not just nearly clean, but really clean.
Put it on camera because we don't have very much time to hold hands.
No, that's very true.
If you thought the power of Solpadeine only came in soluble form, look again. The power of Solpadeine also comes in easy-to-swallow tablets. Solpadeine tablets are one of the most powerful painkillers available without prescription. No other formulation is precisely the same or more advanced. Solpadeine contains 2 effective pain-killing ingredients that deliver relief fast. If pain strikes, hit back with the power of Solpadeine tablets.
Hello again, welcome back to part 3 of West Country Live. Now, Uncle Ronald's got some good news and some bad news on the weather front tonight.
That's right, brilliant 1 minute, rubbish the next. And that's just my delivery, and all of it reflected in the weather. Coming up very shortly, a forecast of sunshine here and blustery old showers there. Don't go away.
And of course, we'll have a summary of the top stories of the day signed for the deaf. But first, the rest of the news from your part of the West Country.
Hello again. The police in Somerset are being accused of turning their backs on the frontline battle against drugs. Councillors say a plan to move the county's drug squad from Wells to Bristol is irresponsible. But the police are dismissing fears that crime will increase once the squad has gone. A spokesman from the Avon and Somerset force says officers can be redeployed at a moment's notice. Prison officers say they could be in danger if Shepton Mallet Jail is privatised. The Somerset prison is on the government's list for a possible takeover. It's been named as one of the worst in Britain. The Home Office says that poor-performing jails with potential for improvement will be chosen for private management. But the Prison Officers Association is worried jobs will be cut and safety compromised by a new company. A plan for a huge housing estate to be built on Ministry of Defence land in Exeter has been thrown out by councillors. The MOD wanted to use the Royal Naval Stores depot site to put up 150 homes. It says that when the bulk of the store's jobs go in 1997, it'll close some of the site. Councillors decided that a review should be carried out into the future of the place. Exmouth's lifeboatmen have joined their colleagues from 6 other lifeboat stations on an intensive 3-day training course on the Isle of Wight. The men will be tested on boat handling, seamanship and navigation. They'll also learn about the D-class lifeboat and how to look after the hull and the engine. Before coming home, they'll practice a capsize drill and a helicopter winching exercise. The qualifying rounds of the National Sheepdog Trials have been held in Buckfastleigh today. Hopefuls from across the region brought their dogs to the Pennywell Farm Centre for the competition. This year there were 32 entries, with the winner going on to the national finals in the autumn. Organisers, though, say they're looking to encourage more people into the pursuit. They say it's bags of fun for not much money. Finally, 24 teams from local businesses are in Exeter getting their grey matter working this evening. They'll be competing at the Grand Charity Quiz Night at the Forte Crest Hotel, all in aid of the Royal Exeter School for the Deaf. Good luck to everyone there. That's at 7:30. And from me for this evening, I'll say a very good evening, but I'll leave you with our address.
Time now for Sport and Leisure, and with a look back at last night's football and all the latest news on last night's game at St James's Park, or rather tonight's game at St James's Park. Here's Tom.
Yes, it hasn't happened yet. We start with football tonight, and Plymouth Argyle moved into the transfer market today in the wake of two heavy defeats. They've signed 26-year-old utility player Darren Bradshaw on a month's loan from Peterborough after losing 4-0 in the Coca-Cola Cup last night at 3rd Division Walsall, where they had 2 men sent off. Even after the 5-1 thrashing by Brentford on Saturday, Argyle's season still managed to take a turn for the worse at the Bescott Stadium last night. First defender Andy Common was sent off for a professional foul, and then Plymouth went behind to Kevin Wilson's clever finish from an acute angle early in the second half. After midfielder Martin Barlow received his marching orders for a second bookable offence midway through the second period, Argyle's 9 men had no hope of keeping the home side at bay. Kyle Lightbourne's cross set up Wilson for a simple second, and 2 minutes later the Walsall striker bundled the ball home after a goalmouth scramble. Walsall skipper Martin O'Connor completed Argyle's misery 5 minutes from time, and Peter Shilton's side surely face an impossible task in next Tuesday's second leg. Torquay, however, will fancy their chances after restricting Cardiff City to a 1-goal advantage at Ninian Park. In fact, the Gulls had most of the game, and Richard Hancock should have done better with his attempted lob after 10 minutes. Ashley Bayes kept Torquay on terms when he blocked Cohen Griffiths' shot, but the keeper could do nothing about Cardiff's winner after an hour. Paul Buckle lost possession in midfield, and Bayes was caught off his line by Tony Oatway's superb 35-yard chip. Well, tonight it's Exeter City's turn to hit the cup trail. They take on Swansea in the first leg of their first-round tie, and we can get the very latest news on that game by going live to St James's Park, where we're joined by Martin Dean. So, Martin, can Exeter succeed where Plymouth and Torquay failed?
Well, I'm sure they'd dearly love to emulate Walsall by upsetting second division opposition. I'm not sure quite what odds you'd get on another 4 goals and 2 more sendings off tonight. But one racing certainty these days is that Exeter City and Swansea will meet in one competition during the course of a season.
This, in fact, will be the 9th time they've met in the last 2 years. Swansea have had much the better of things over that period, winning 5 matches to Exeter's 2. One of Exeter's successes came in the league match at St James's Park last season, when Ronnie Jepson, remember him, scored the only goal of the game. That, of course, was before Exeter's disastrous run, which sent them sliding towards relegation. There's been much talk of a new beginning this season, but it looked like the same old story at Lincoln on Saturday, a 2-0 defeat prompting Exeter manager Terry Cooper to promise changes for tonight's game.
Well, Terry Cooper, in fact, I think he's going to be true to his word. Still waiting for confirmation on the teams, but in fact, looks as if there could be as many as 4 changes in the Exeter lineup tonight. Anthony Thirlby and Danny Bailey coming into midfield in place of Russell Coughlin and Mark Cooper. Stuart Storer's dropped and Martin Phillips comes in for him. It looks as if either Mike Chechery or possibly Richard Pears will partner Robbie Turner up front. So some big changes in the Exeter side, which is perhaps something of a surprise, having just lost that first game at Lincoln. But Terry Cooper determined to really try and get the best out of his side. He says he wants to put his faith in the youngsters because he believes that they'll give them a little bit more effort. Whether they can actually emulate Walsall or not remains to be seen. Swansea are going to be a difficult side to beat. They reached the final of the Autoglass Trophy and won it, in fact, at Wembley last season. Quite a good quality side. I think Exeter would be delighted to perhaps take a 1 or 2 goal advantage to the Vetch Field for next week's second leg. We shall have to wait and see how things go. Conditions, as you can possibly see, just about perfect. We're looking forward to an exciting night of football here at St James's Park.
Thanks very much, Martin. And we'll bring you the result of tonight's match in our late news at 10:30. Cricket now, and Somerset launched the annual festival at Weston-super-Mare tomorrow with their county championship match against Essex. It's a fixture that takes on added importance after Monday's humiliation against Middlesex. Somerset's thrashing by an innings and 30 runs at Lord's put a severe dent in their hopes of matching last season's top 5 finish in the championship. They need to bounce back with a victory to close the gap on the leading pack. But winning the toss could be vital on a wicket that's notoriously unpredictable.
Basically, it's a park and it's used throughout the year by the public, not cricket-wise, but people just walk around it. So we just get it the best we can. The main problem with the festival is that, you know, you're not totally in control of what happens. So, I mean, you just got to live with that. But the fact that it's an important game, obviously we hope the wicket plays pretty well.
Somerset are boosted by Marcus Trescothick's return from England under-19 duty. All-rounder Graham Rose may also be back after injury, but former Warwickshire player Kieran Holloway has been put on standby for his championship debut.
Well, Tom, early days, but a pretty awful start for our soccer team so far this season.
Well, I would say it's not been ideal for any of them so far, although Torquay United did have a good win in the league on Saturday. That's the most important thing. Exeter, of course, have the chance to put things right tonight against Swansea. The problems seem biggest at Plymouth Argyle. They fell foul of some very strict refereeing last night, and they've got a couple of suspensions now, which, on top of the injury list that they already had, makes their problems worse. But Plymouth Argyle fans must remember that they started last season pretty poorly and ended up almost getting promoted, so there's still time to put it straight. I'm confident.
Thanks, Tom. Now let's find out what's happening with the weather. Here's Ron.
Well, different varieties of weather coming thick and fast still. Later on, some high-pressure crossing, so mostly dry. Then a good soaking with some rain, then some sun, then some showers, and then some more sun. And, well, I could go on, but I think you get the picture. But, as I say, that high pressure making it reasonably stable tonight, when although the odd shower is still possible, most places are going to be dry, with the skies clearing. A few short-lived mist patches are likely in well-sheltered inland spots for a time, but cloud will be thickening from the west with outbreaks of rain and drizzle into the Isles of Scilly and West Cornwall by first light. The west to northwest wind will back west to southwest, moderate to fresh, and temperatures tonight will fall to just 12-13 Celsius, say 54-55 Fahrenheit. In the morning, that rain and drizzle will spread quickly across the region with some moderate or heavy bursts likely for a while over the hills and on the moors. And it'll get misty with low cloud giving some patches of fog over the high ground and around some parts of the coast. The wind west to southwest and getting fresh to strong, and the temperature climbing to just 16, that's 61 Fahrenheit. Now, the cloud and rain will move away as quickly as it arrived in the afternoon, so a return to bright but breezy weather with a mix of sunny spells and blustery showers. A westerly wind then still fresh to strong, and the showers most frequent around those west-facing coasts and on the hills. But again, like today, many inland areas may stay dry, but still feeling cool for the time of year. If you have a look at the temperatures, maximum temperatures you can expect tomorrow there, most of them 17, 18 Celsius, at 63, 64 Fahrenheit. Up at Letterford there, I wonder how many of you remember an old chap called Sammy Harris. He used to have the scrap heap up at Letterford. Oh, happy days. Only 16, 61 there. And if we go southwest from there for the tides, let's pick on Plymouth. Round about 4 o'clock in the early hours, 20 past 4 tomorrow afternoon. And the outlook for Friday, not much change. Still breezy with sunshine 1 minute and showers the next. I want to mention ragwort before you come in. We've had, I don't know if you remember, we had an item a couple of weeks back on ragwort, and I was playing silly things, but it's quite a serious point. We've had lots and lots of calls, people saying, what do we do with it? Well, the thing is, pull it up and burn it. Either that or get onto the ministry, the council, whoever. Just a few letters I grabbed off the top. There's a chap called Paul from Bridport who said, the cinnabar moth, let's introduce that. It eats ragwort. Mike Squire, Torrington, if you're pulling them up, use gloves. It is toxic, it builds up. A lady from Puddington, Stella Killick, ragwort, it made her laugh. Puddington never gets a mention, so Puddington, there you are, 20 years worth. And this is from Patricia Long, who said that when I was dressed up in my 60s gear, I looked a dish. I love you.
A dog's dinner, that's what she wrote, wasn't it? I'm sorry, I didn't mean it. You look lovely, Ron. Sorry.
Time now for the national and regional news summaries signed for the deaf by Josie Bowden.
A Loyalist pub in Belfast was destroyed by an IRA bomb this afternoon. About a dozen customers fled moments before the explosion. Inflation has fallen 0.3%. A high street price war has pushed the cost of living down to 2.3%. And French fishermen have opened fire on Greenpeace campaigners monitoring the tuna war in the Bay of Biscay. A Greenpeace ship was trying to measure the nets of a French trawler when shots were fired. Now here's Gavin with the regional summary.
The government's care in the community policy is facing renewed criticism tonight. Speaking on Westcountry Live, the mother of an occupational therapist killed by a psychiatric patient at Torbay Hospital attacked the policy. The move follows a scathing report into killings by the mentally ill. There's been an increase in the number of people in the West Country out of work and claiming benefit. Devon had the biggest increase in the region, with more than 600 people joining the jobless total. And £1 million worth of shares in Cornwall's last working tin mine have been put in the post today. The government's now agreed to write off South Crofty's other debts.
On Westcountry Live tomorrow, we'll have reaction from the South West's A-level students the day their results are released. Westcountry will be running a special telephone helpline with advice on further courses and retakes. The lines will be open tomorrow afternoon, and we'll have the number on our bulletins tomorrow.
And tomorrow on Westcountry Live, most of us, when we die, expect to be buried or cremated. But some people in the West Country have other plans. We'll be meeting a woman who wants her body to be sent to America and frozen in liquid nitrogen. The process is called cryonics, and she hopes that in the future, scientific advances will mean she'll come back to life one day. Find out more on tomorrow night's programme.
That's it. Time for us to go. I should go off for a surf, but I think we can go off for a sleep, actually. You can go and play golf.
Going off for a swim are some seals on the Isles of Scilly. We'll leave you with that. Good evening.
Bye.
The South American grasslands, home to the smooth-billed Arnie of Ecuador. Unusual in the bird world, Arnies cooperate in building a communal nest where they lay their eggs and incubate them. But why do they never arrive at the nest without a leaf?
Whoever ends up holding the leaf is allowed to incubate. The leaf is a ticket to sit.
Cracking the green leaf code in Survival, Thursday at 7:30 on Westcountry.
Stay with us tonight for half an hour of good music in the company of Michael Ball. Guest of honour is Latin heartthrob Julio Iglesias.
She's a housewife with a burning ambition.
Well, you got that thing. People love you on stage, you know that.
But her husband has other ideas.
What do you want?
A wife.
For dinner. What do you want for dinner?
Starring Sally Field.
I used to make everybody laugh. Even my husband.
John Goodman.
That woman is not funny!
And Tom Hanks.
All you need is the right gags.
In Punchline, Saturday night's movie on Westcountry.
Premier League, exclusively live on Sky Sports.
There are two kinds of people in this world. There are shredheads
and there are shredless wonders.
Shredheads like the deliciously orange jelly shreds in Robertson's Golden Shred.
Shredless wonders like the deliciously orange jelly in Robertson's Golden Shredless.
So if you like shreds, you're a shredhead.
And if you like no shreds, you're a shredless wonder.
So there you go. Robertson's Golden Shred for shredheads.
Robertson's Golden Shredless for shredless wonders. Deliciously orangely.
With or without shreds.
The Glory of Gershwin, 18 classic songs recorded by some of the biggest stars in popular music today. The Glory of Gershwin, out now.
You're an experienced driver, and here's your reward. Landmark's created insurance expressly for you. It takes a load off your mind. Because we won't cover careless drivers, you don't carry their costs. You get outstanding service, including express claim settlement, free courtesy car, and up to 70% protected no claims bonus. Now, this service is only available if you're over 45. If not, please be patient. Stop carrying careless drivers. Phone Landmark now, 0500 747 700. Thank you.
Plimsolls. Lunchbox. Right. Got everything we need for school now?
For kids, Woolworths is right up your street.
Outside, then bring teardrop back a little bit with barley mow on the inside, drop cedar, then child friendly.
The moment of truth, where they're live as Claire, Ross and Nicola get their results tomorrow on GMTV.
When an affair ends...
That's very simple, sweetheart. We're finished.
The threats fly.
Famous lawyer kills mistress. It's not real good for business.
But when his prediction comes true, Columbo has a prime suspect.
The lawyer that never lost a murder case. That you, Crichton?
He's the one.
What's this all about, Columbus?
You killed her and you used me to help you.
Peter Falk upholds the law as Columbo, Saturday on Westcountry.
Now the curtain goes up for another musical spectacular with Michael Ball.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Only this, dear, is goodbye.
Teeth feel smooth, dental clean, when brushed with new Colgate bicarbonate of soda.
One more kiss.
New Colgate bicarbonate of soda makes teeth feel
When a God-fearing town plays host to murder.
What sort of a woman was Jessica Doble?
I thought she was unpleasant and inherently bad.
Who hated enough to kill?
She didn't give a fig about us.
A private life becomes public property.
Did she have lovers?
Two. The woman was a few weeks pregnant. No, it isn't mine.
I loved her. It's all so confusing.
A case for Cornish detective Wycliffe, Sunday at 8, Westcountry.
Good afternoon. The people of Salcombe are digging into their own pockets to pay for the funeral of Sandra Parkinson. The 22-year-old hotel waitress was murdered on a coastal path in the town last month. One shop has already collected about £300 in just one day. Sharon Goebel reports.
A month on from the murder, there are still reminders of what happened. In this newsagent's, a collecting box for Sandra's funeral fund. The fund was the idea of Holy Trinity Parish.
It's a very long way to Scotland. The body has to be taken up there, or has been now, and it's very expensive. The family are large, 7 brothers, but not at all well off. It's just a little way we can show our sympathy towards them, and especially Sandra's mother.
Neither Sandra nor her killer were local people. Sandra was working here. but both were born hundreds of miles from Salcombe. It's a measure of much that is affected by the murder that residents want to pay for Sandra's funeral. Sharon Goebel in Salcombe, Westcountry.
Meanwhile, police have cleared Sandra Parkinson's killer of a series of 8 rapes and sex attacks in South Yorkshire. But detectives from Devon are continuing forensic examinations which they say could link Alan Connor with other crimes. As a friend of Australian Julie Clayton, police have been told of another site at St Austell. Julie Benson reports.
Julie's battered body was found dumped in a ditch in Lincolnshire early last month. Witnesses have now come forward to say they spotted in the passenger seat of a van in a car park in Ivybridge on July the 1st. Detectives described this new sighting as a significant development. So far, police have relied heavily on a campaign showing a video fit image of the red Mercedes van Julie was seen in with a mystery man. Sometime before her death, Julie had left a friend's house in St Austell. She was later seen at a fruit farm in Yampton near Plymouth. But even with this latest sighting, the final hours of Julie Clayton remain mystery. Julie Benson for Westcountry.
The latest offer from Westlands is to be put to the staff at Yeovil, who've been staging a series of one-day strikes over pay. The company has reinstated its offer 3.25% pay rise. They're also offering a package involving a change of hours, which they hope will end the deadlock over negotiations with the MSF union. The offer will be put to the members at a mass meeting on Wednesday. After myxomatosis, another disease is threatening the West Country's rabbit population. It's called viral hemorrhagic disease, or VHD. The first case has been reported at Cheriton Bishop in Devon. But experts fear the virus could be more spread. It's highly contagious and there's no vaccine. Once an animal is infected, it dies within 72 hours. Pet owners and rabbit farmers are being asked to be extra vigilant.
Any cases be suspected or crop up, they have to be notified to the ministry so that they can isolate and quarantine the area.
As yet, the disease has only affected pet and commercially farmed rabbits. But unless more is learned about the virus soon, it's feared it could spread to the beaches. Could be the target invasion by bites, campaigners, winters caused by the greenhouse of dangerous pests. Sandflies, which can spread a parasitic disease, have already been found as far north as Cornwall. Other insects which could move north include poisonous spiders, cockroaches, and even mosquitoes, which carry malaria. Well, it may be the height of summer, but Devon residents are being warned to get their electric blankets. Trading standards officers have discovered that 70% are unsafe. Stephen Linus reports.
Collection day today. Pensioners are retrieving their blankets after a free safety check.
It's passed. Okay. I'll use it then. Thank you. I think it's one of those things you don't think of until somebody jots you, your memory. You think, oh, when was the last time I had it tested,
The men from Trading Standards aren't making this bed. They're checking plugs, insulation and wiring. This summer, they've done 930 blankets. 40 deaths and 2,000 fires across the country last year mean you can't take chances.
The overall level of failure of the blankets has stayed about the same at about 70%, which is very high. But fortunately, the good news is that the serious failures have been lower, about 30%.
Nearly 1,000 pensioners in Devon have found out today whether or not their electric blanket's safe to use this winter. The rest of us have got about 8 weeks before the chill-ins begin. Stephen Linus in Plymouth for Westcountry.
Cricket and Somerset have made a sensational start to the second day of a county championship match against Essex at Weston-super-Mare. Andre Van Troost, Andrew Caddick and Graham Rose have taken 4 wickets between them this morning to leave Essex struggling on 44 for 6. That's in reply to Somerset's moderate total of 226 all out. A piece of sporting history will be made at Torquay United's Moor ground tomorrow when, for the very first time, a woman will be among the match officials for a Football League fixture. 30-year-old Wendy Poole in Dorset will run the line in Torquay's third division game against Carlisle United. She's already well known throughout the West Country as a referee on the non-league soccer scene. She now breaks a 106-year male monopoly by becoming the first woman to qualify as a Football League lineswoman. The Dinosaurs have joined the National League. The Dorset Dinosaurs, that is, the county's basketball team. And as news report, they're aiming high in more ways than one.
You don't mention the Harlem Globetrotters to serious basketball players, but skills like this brought them instantly to mind. The Dorset Dinosaurs laid on some training to the hopefuls, and are hopeful themselves of rapid promotion through to join Plymouth in the first.
3 or 4 years down the road, we'll be up there with all the big teams.
Is there the local talent to sustain that?
No doubt about it. I mean, over the past 6 or 7 months, we've had lots of players come all over the southwest region to train and play. And we're actually building up a very nice team and squad for next year as well.
There's always something to aim for, something more to learn, something more to that's attractive just to actually work on.
You can become your own coaches and make little adjustments to your shot. Barry, for example, needs a smoother follow-through, and he now knows it.
The Dinosaurs play their first league game on October the 1st, when they'll get some idea if their dreams can be fulfilled.
This game's really quite easy. Once you've got the knack, all they need is a handicapping challenge. Thank you very much indeed. John Andrews in Dorchester for Westcountry.
Now, with details of any trouble spots on the region's roads, here's Alison Sixsmith at A Road Watch.
Well, traffic's already fairly busy on roads around the area this afternoon. Obviously, that'll build up over the weekend. Devon, the A386 near Oakhampton, there are 2 sets of temporary lights in use between Southerley and Prawley Moor. In Cornwall, the A3047 Aldredruth bypass still reduced to a single lane across Tolgus Bridge. And finally, in Somerset on the A358, work continues. That does cause delays at times at Henlade. That's the latest traffic and travel for West Country. Alison Sixsmith, AA Road Watch.
With the tuna wars still making the news, our Insight team takes an in-depth look at the issue on West Country Live tonight. Our reporter Dale Webb has been in the Bay of Biscay, where the fish war has recently seen some of its most bitter battles. The Spanish say the Cornish are using oversized nets. The Cornish say the Spanish are catching undersized fish. So just who's right? Find out the results of our special investigation in tonight's Insight. Now for a look at the region's weather. All parts of the region will have a bright afternoon with sunny spells and scattered showers. The showers will be most frequent near to western coasts and over hills, where 1 or 2 may be on the heavy side. Temperatures reaching 19 Celsius, 66 Fahrenheit. Showers will become confined to western coasts overnight, with many inland areas becoming clear. A few mist patches are likely around dawn, especially in rural areas. Temperatures will fall to 12 Celsius, that's 54 Fahrenheit. Well, that's all we have time for now. We'll have more news at 3:25, and Gavin Gray and Alison Johns will be here for West Country Live at 6. Goodbye.
Tonight sees the third of the Golden 4 international athletics meetings, the Brussels Grand Prix, featuring the top names in athletics and with a promise of high-class performances from Britain and the rest of the world. Live from the Heysel Stadium, Brussels, International Athletics, tonight at 9 on West Country.
Now at 12:30, it's over to Carol Barnes and Dermot Murnahan at ITN.
Hello, this is the Lunchtime from ITN.
Hello, the main developments so far today. A massive new exodus of Rwandan refugees as Zaire closes its border. Why there are fears of a new human catastrophe. Scotland Yard confirms the disappearance of millions of pounds of its own funds. A fraud investigation underway.
Also among today's top stories, why 1 in 4 newsagents now keeps a weapon behind the counter. And the burning issue over imported charcoal, why British is best.
A major new refugee crisis is developing on the Rwandan border, and the Zairean government is on the verge of taking...
It's almost high tide. Quickly now.
Diving gear's gone. And the dinghy's gone. I told her not to go diving.
She'll be all right, Tom. I'm sure she will.
The bay, that's where she'll be. The bay. Drive me there now.
Sorry, no wheels.
I'll take you, but my car's at the other end of the village.
Well, let's go.
Fine, I'll just, look around.
It's all right. Luke, it's okay. It's just the water filling the caves. Don't worry.
Right, Luke, I'm going to go back through the tunnel, and I'm going to prove it to you. Okay?
It's all right, Luke. Don't worry. It's all right.
Someone to go and identify a body that's been washed up in the cove.
She'll kill off the south coast, and I mean everyone.
I think it could be poisoning him.
Binary nerve gas. Highly toxic.
This is your day. Action!
Well, there's certainly plenty of that in next week's CITV, and here's just a taste of it.
Scooby-Doo, where are you?
We are hunters. Trappers extraordinaire.
What the... See you Monday.
Remember, if it's your birthday tomorrow, birthday people will actually be going out at 5 to 1. Happy birthday to Abigail Green. You're 1 today. Lots of love and a happy birthday from your whole family. And your father is going to be 26 on the 23rd of August. So a big happy birthday to you too.
Well done, Dad. Let's say hello to Emmy Trower of Glen Holt. You are 6 today, and this comes from Auntie Chris, Uncle Les, Kelly, Dane and Frank.
Stephanie Frost, you are 1 today. You're in Dawlish, looking pretty happy about it. Lots of love and a happy birthday from your mum, your dad, your twin brothers, Matthew and Christopher. Have a great day.
Wow! Who's this on the traction engine? It's Danielle Nicholson. Daddy, where's the brakes? You're 2 today. Lots of love from Mummy and Daddy.
Hello, Christopher Ashweek. You are today. Lots of love from Mike.
OK, please say hello to our blonde bombshell. That's Jack. Mummy, baby brother, Joe, and
Jeff Quinnett, you are 12 today. Your friends have bribed us. We accept all bribes. And lots of love and a happy birthday from all your friends at Plymstock School. A lot of your friends are keen on Wayne's World. They say, we're your best mate. Not. Have a great day. Not. So, take it from us. Have a good time.
We've got a dad next. That's our daddy, Phil Brock. It's your birthday today. This comes to you from Benita and Sabrina, who send you lots of love and hugs.
Lisa Venton, you are 2 today. Have a terrific day. You're in Truro. Lots of love for your mum, your dad, your big sister, Katie.
OK, we forgot your cake, never mind. You were mentioned. Sophie Louise Marwick, it's your birthday today. You are 3. This comes from Mummy, Daddy, and all the family, plus Mally the cat.
Daniel Parnell, Rose and Meath, happy birthday, because you're having a great party. Lots of love from your mum, dad, brothers Jason, Darren and Duke. Have a great day.
OK, that's it from us for today. We'll see you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. And there's cards 1 month in advance. Please to birthday people, Westcountry Television, Langage Science Park, Plymouth, PR7 5BG. And please don't forget to put the date on.
It looks like the end of a friendship for Damien next, while Finn has lost the love of her life.
On your feet, squid for brains. Get the cokes in. Yeah, move it. Coca-Cola Red Hot Summer. 100,000 T-shirts to be won. 10,000 pairs of Ray-Bans. And...
I've just won a holiday in Florida for 4 people.
Love yourself it. Stival Go.
It's my pocket when I went with his friends. Oh, why can't you just stop growing, Nev?
Only by collecting tokens on special packs of Kellogg's cornflakes can you get 6 puppies in my pocket free.
Introducing you pledge simply protection.
Talabate, the funky fools be cool. Wouldn't you be a bad fuck?
Was a fun business. So set right of the country.
Now the Ross Howard.
No matter where you are.
I saw you.